Hello.
Greetings,
There he is.
the man.
Took a little while. Got it.
Usually takes a bit to set up.
All right. How you doing?
I'm doing good, and you?
Good. Very good.
Awesome. Bobby, are you still situated in Florida?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
You've been there how long now?
Since '96.
Okay, that's about quite a bit.
Yeah. After California, I went back to New York for a little bit, and then I moved straight down here.
Okay, cool. Awesome. Man, so lots been happening. I touched base with you a while back, and you said like, let's postpone until I have something to talk about. So
Well,
I think
yes.
I think a lot of it. There's a lot now.
Yeah, a lot more now, I'd say. But yeah, things are moving along. I mean, violence obviously is over. So I was putting songs together. I got that going. Um,
But
I
so
that would say
tell me,
that.
the violence thing was a logistical thing, hey?
Yeah, it was. I mean, for the same reason, all these bands are canceling tours. It's just gotten so expensive to do, and even within that 3 short year span, the price of tickets, plane tickets, really shot up after the pandemic. So you know they're not playing all the time. They're doing sporadic shows here and there, and to spend that much money to bring me out there, it's understandable.
Yeah, on the other side, it's also a pity, that was a really killer lineup, and it's the kind of lineup I personally, as a huge violence fan, really thought was, you know, tops.
Yeah, I
Best.
thought it was a pretty much a solid band when I had started, but I know Phil has his eyes on something bigger. So if other projects come along, he wanted to really just be with something at the level he was used to, which is understandable.
Probably coming from Machine Head, that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
you get used to that level, and it's hard to go back. But wish them well. Whatever happens, happens. But
He's jumped in for Alex now as Skolnick. So
yeah,
yeah. So
yeah,
he
he's
takes
the
over.
go-to guy.
He's the go-to guy, yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. No, but amazing. It's been a long time. I've checked your regimen, and I was amazed to find the bands you've been involved with. I mean, I was aware of the Cyclists from Hellstant, the Eye for an Eye thing. I got when it during that time I got wind of it was very hard to get hold of the material because I was still in Southern Africa and you couldn't get hold of stuff anyway. And then only later did I find out about Response Negative, and only yesterday I saw that you actually had an involvement with Grip Incorporated for a time
Oh,
there.
yeah.
Wow.
It was, oh God. I mean, it's just one chain of events after another. After Overkill, my friends in the Cycle Sluts, they lost their guitar player. They were in the studio. They needed someone to play solos. So I went in and I did two solos for them, but only one song made the album. And then they happened to, just mention that they were going to be on the road 2 months with Motorhead. Do you want to come? I'm like, hell yeah, I'm going to come.
Why
So I
not?
went out there and all along had putting together the Eye for an Eye thing in New York. Billy Milano had contacted me to try and do another MOD album. And we were actually going out to California to play with Perry from Violence. So I drove out there with Billy. He left in 2 weeks. I stayed out there for 2 years. Wound up never playing with Perry. Stayed out there, did the Eye for an Eye thing out in California with Tom Hunting. And what else happened? I did a solo for the Spud Monsters and Biohazard while I was out there. They flew me to Cleveland. Same thing with Screw. I think they lost a guitar player in the studio.
I only heard the Screw material for the first time today.
That album, that was a good
heavy
album. I think it was their third album actually that I was on. But
yeah.
I liked it. It was a little different. I kind of, just trying to expand a little bit. And that was a different experience. The music was heavy. I had to go to Texas for a while, and we went out and opened for Creator, but it was weird almost playing it was a DAT machine actually back then, but we played to the DAT machine for some of the effects and everything else. Grip, I think, was just before that. I kept going to LA and Dave just, I'm driving down there and we're not doing anything. So it was kind of like time to stop that. And then all of a sudden he had Valdemar come in to play guitar. And I was never even told I was aware of that. So I left. By that time, the California time was up, went back to New York. Came to Florida, did the Response Negative thing, and then I kind of just gave it up for a little while. Just worked.
Yeah.
I just get a roof over my head and do that type of thing. And then Violence came along. So I went out and played. I mean, that was 3 years actually. Because the pandemic hit that January. Yeah. As soon as it started, I flew out there to go to start touring in Japan and Australia with them. And within the 2 weeks I was out there, the pandemic hit and everything shut down. So, a whole year was just wasted doing nothing
and just, waiting.
Just waste. Yeah, it was just a waste. It was a waiting game. Then the summer came. We're finally going to go out and play. Then we actually get COVID. So then we couldn't do that. We missed the festivals 2 years ago. We were actually lucky enough to go last year.
Yeah.
We did 3 of them in Europe. And then, that was basically the last show I did with them.
Okay.
Was out in Europe. And then I just started writing songs now. And I had some stuff for Violence, but I kind of shelved it and started fresh. And now I've got 10 songs that I'm going to probably demo pretty soon. Just getting the guitar tone for a demo. And I'm going to demo 4 songs.
Great stuff. Can you reveal anything about it yet? Or is it?
The bass player, he's an old friend of mine from down here. He moved a little bit north in Florida. But he plays the bass in Massacre, Mike Borders.
Okay, cool, yeah.
So he's been organizing, getting the songs together with me. We're putting stuff down, laptops, which is a new thing for me, sending music out that way. We've got a couple of Swedish guys that are on board that are going to at least do the demo with us. And we'll see if it takes off from there, if they want to do it full time. So here we are, flying across the world again to try and put a band together. I guess you can't find anyone in your neighborhood. So
it's crazy. I was about to ask you, how does it feel for you? Looking back the Overkill years, you guys, that was like practice in a room, write the songs, go into a studio. How does it feel these days? It must be totally weird.
It's strange to me. I don't like it. I like, it's impossible these days, but I like having the band at least a half hour or an hour drive away from you. Yeah. That's the way it was with the guys in Overkill. And we had a small spot. We did my parents' basement for like 2 years, and then we had a small spot in New Jersey. Mm. And we practiced 3 times a week, whether we needed it or not.
Yeah.
We were always practicing.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's just what you did back then. But now people, you're not in your 20s, so a lot of people, they don't have the time to do it. Everyone has, a day job or whatnot, so it's really hard to get everyone together. But on the positive end of that, I can get a singer and a drummer from Sweden to play on it, which you could never do before. So
Yeah,
in a way, it's kind of cool.
Sweden seems to be this like Toys R Us for musicians. It's like,
Well, he Mike
totally.
had told me that the government helps the musicians out a
Yeah.
lot there.
Yes,
I
I've
think
heard
they
that too.
pay them like ambassadors or whatnot. And over the years with Facebook and everything, I've become very friendly with a lot of people over there. And I was excited about it. I mean, it's not Viking music, but I like all that stuff, and that's kind of what I did with Satan's Taint. But this is going to be something different.
Yeah, no, it's the same here in Germany. We don't have that kind of support for musicians either, and I think that's why the Scandinavian scene is flourishing
Yeah,
as it is.
yeah, yeah.
But
All the Scandinavian countries are doing really well, which is great. They got that Gothenburg sound, which everyone kind of gathered towards. So you'll get little pockets of that here and there in different places, and they seem to be where it's at right now.
yeah. Does this mean that you are putting Satan's Taint on hold, or
No, I have plenty of songs. So the guys that I do that band with are local. Like Jim the drummer and stuff are close by. So I can put that together fairly easily. So after I get the new band situated, I'm gonna go back and do those songs as well. So then I can get those like on the laptop and sent out to everybody. And then, while it's downtime, which, a lot of musicians are doing now to try and keep this as a career, you almost have to be in more than one band.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So, I'm going to keep this little local thing going and see if this other band can get, a little bit more,
Yeah,
out.
but provided you can actually perform live, because what is your source of income really, other than playing live and selling merch?
Yeah. Yeah. And that's becoming even harder with, the price of touring. And now they're kind of cracking down on trying to get, which, they've always done on and off is get the money from the merch, but the merch is the only thing that really keeps us going.
Yeah.
So, we're going to have to start fighting back a little bit.
Yeah, no,
And that's,
it's just crazy. And over here, the last few months, I've seen numerous tours cancelled. I mean,
yeah,
Anthrax quit their entire stint. Um, Exodus now, okay, that was due to I think someone in Gary Holt's family falling ill. That was
I
a
think,
family thing.
Flotsam
But
and Jetsam,
Flotsam and
Flotsam,
Jetsam,
they canceled. I saw one or two others who've also pulled out. But I've also heard from Mike that it's more expensive for some of the European bands to come here because of like heavy taxes
yes,
on things.
yes.
So yeah, it seems like the festivals, since there's an enormous amount of money, and that's enough to get you to fly and do everything that you've got to do. It seems like the festivals are almost the way to see the shows now.
It is, and it's sadly rubbing off negatively against a scene that I hold very dear. I still love club shows. I love seeing bands in smaller venues. I think it's more intimate, it's more close. Festivals,
Yeah.
it's much of a muchness, it's kind of as if they
Yeah,
want.
it's not well, I never got a chance really to do it with Overkill. So I finally, was able to experience, the big festivals, 3 of the biggest last year. And it's rough. You really don't have time to get yourself situated, especially if you don't have a road crew. If you're not on tour there, you don't have a road crew, you're pretty much there by yourself. You're trying to set yourself up with an amp and a sound, and there's really no sound check. You just make sure your instruments, alive, and that's it. It's just like go.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Yeah.
And on a stage that's that big, if you really don't have great monitors, you're not hearing the guy that's 50
Yes,
feet
I
away.
know.
So it's
Been there, done that.
very difficult.
No,
But
it can get very messy very quickly.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Luckily, we held it together. We had 3 really good shows.
Where did you
Back to back.
where did you play? Which festivals did you do here in Europe?
We did Alcatraz, Bloodstock, and then the first one we were in the Czech Republic.
Okay.
What was that one? Brutal Assault.
Brutal Assault. Okay, so you didn't do any of the big German festivals,
No,
Wacken
no. Czech Republic, I think Belgium, and then England.
Okay.
And I remember it was really hot for Europe. It was very strange how hot it was.
Yeah.
Even in England, I mean, that was the last show. We traveled overnight just to get there, and of course, no sleep in the hot weather, and then you're playing there. But it was still a joy to do.
No, I can imagine that.
Definitely. Yeah,
definitely.
It's not not every day that you get to do that, or be in a band or be in the business long enough to be able to get to that level. I mean, there's so many bands right now.
Yeah, I mean, hats off to you guys. I mean, respect. I mean, I'm 74.
74.
I was born 74, so even
born.
Age, yeah, even
I thought you were 74.
Hell of a young chap, eh? Young looking. No,
what are you drinking?
Even at my age, I mean, I was talking to Josh from Toxic when they were here in the town nearby. They played a small club, and I was chatting to him. I was like, hats off to you guys still doing it, because I mean, I've done some touring myself, and but it's nothing I could see myself doing now at the end of 40. No way.
For me, like living in Florida and having to work outside in the summertime, sometimes maybe even with the shovel in your hand, or you're up in someone's attic space where it's twice as hot, playing guitar for an hour or so. I mean, it's a dream.
Okay.
So,
okay.
I mean,
I hear you.
Either do that or do this, and I'm trying to do this again.
Yes, I hear you. Okay, that makes perfect sense.
But yeah, I was very disappointed in December because we were supposed to do that Headbangers Ball Tour, which I would have seen all my friends from Germany. Since that didn't happen, I feel bad, but we're trying to get back there with the new band, and that's all I can do is just keep trying.
Oh, great stuff. It's good to hear that that you're already taking the bull by the horns and march on.
You're always playing guitar, so you're always writing. You're always coming up with riffs, so you're always creating a song, and it's like I just can't see me ever stopping until I can't play it at all anymore. So, I just always my mind is telling me I'm still 20, and I could still go out and do this. So.
No, and then it's your calling, and you need to. Absolutely, it would be a sin to not do it.
It's all I ever did. I mean, any job that I had to do to me was just a side job to music. I always have my sights on doing this and coming back.
Yeah. No, that's great. Do you? Let me put it this way. For me, just to go back to the Overkill years, for me, I grew up on that shit. And my entry album was Under the Influence, and I think it's still my sentimental favorite to this day. And then obviously Years of Decay and stuff. Anyway, and it was such. I mean, everybody has those albums that really, somebody could climb in on a later album and that would be their favorites. It's a sentimental thing. It's something with the times that you experienced it and you associate probably. But as someone, I think as a guitar player, number one, and as someone that knows a little bit about sound, I still prefer those first albums. Those are my absolute faves. And
yeah, I understand that fully because I feel the same way with Iron Maiden.
Yes.
I mean, first 3 to 4, definitely, but the first two, when you're at that age and you're just like staring at that cover for hours and just playing the album over and over and over, it just it sinks into you and it never goes away. Even with, I would compare in this sense that the first album, Feel the Fire, with the first Iron Maiden album, where the sound wasn't really there yet. You didn't have the money. It's very low budget. You get the album out, you do the best you can. But for some reason, that's still my favorite sound was the first Maiden album.
Yeah, amazing.
And people are the same way with Feel the Fire because it's their introduction to the band. And I'm like, no, the Years of Decay and Under the Influence sounds so much better. But you just, it's that moment in your time, and that never goes away. And then,
Yeah.
unless you've experienced it, you don't get it.
I mean, Overkill always had a strong punk tinge, definitely, and
Yeah.
I think there's no denying that, and it's not really a secret. But I think the typical Overkill sound for me was started at least from Taking Over onwards. That really those crushingly heavy bottom endy guitars, and it's just really fat. And
I mean, to me, that's a good thing. Is that the 4 albums that I'm on, everyone's got a different album that they all. It would suck if out of those 4, everyone all loved the same album, because then I knew I did 3 albums that were wrong. Because I actually just listened to with a friend over this weekend. We were working together, and he played Under the Influence, and I hadn't listened to that in like 30 years, and I forgot all the stuff that I did, and I was like, wow. I was like, I don't even remember doing that. That's pretty cool. That was cool. That was cool. And I was like, holy shit, this album, was good. I mean, it got a little bit of flack compared to the other 3, but that was a solid album. There was some really solid songs on there, and people feel that way with Taking Over. They're like, oh, Taking the best, Under the Influence is the best. So
any flack on Under the Influence is not justified, in my opinion.
No,
that
I think so either. I think the sound was different.
Yeah.
Compared to the first 2, it got cleared up a little bit. I wouldn't say clean, but cleared up a little bit so you could hear everything. But then we finally got it right with the Years of Decay, I think. And that's what sound I would have had probably moving forward.
Yeah. Stupid. This question had to come. Over the years, have you ever followed what Overkill is doing? Does it sort of feature, or is it sort of nah?
No, I haven't listened to anything they've done unless I've heard it by accident. I know that Phil played with them last year here in the States. They did a couple of shows because he had the COVID shot. And that's when everyone was still paranoid. So he filled in with them, but I haven't gone to see them, and I haven't listened to anything that they've done.
No, they're still very. I mean, there's been a lot of lineup changes and stuff. I mean, now I think the latest lineup is quite solid, has been fairly solid, except for the drummer stool. But yeah,
another one drummer.
They've had quite a few drummers. Ron Lipnicki, and then now it's the guy from Shadows Fall, I think. Or
yeah, I think he's still there. All right,
he's still there, and but there's been a bit of movement. So
yeah, him and Sid, and I mean. Yeah, I mean, Sid wound up doing only 1 album after.
Yeah,
correct. And I liked his playing so much when we did the 2 albums. I said, look, Rat did 2 albums. Now Sid has done 2 albums, and he's proved himself how good he is, and that we've gotten better as a band. I said we should make him an equal partner, and they didn't want to do that, and that was kind of a bummer, and that was a little bit of a fight between us as well, which I didn't think was really fair. He went on to do the next one. They still wouldn't make him a member, and he left. And then it's been a revolving door of guitar players and drummers for years.
That's really sad, and in my opinion. I mean, for me, a band would always be an equal unit,
Yeah, it should have been. I mean, that's the way it was when we did the first two albums.
Yeah, yeah.
And you know, we just kind of gave Sid a chance to prove himself. And after the two albums, our two highest selling albums, it's like, okay, you know, the guys, we got to keep him, you know, let's make him an equal member. And Blitz and Didi just did not want to do it.
Yeah, but I mean, that's that kind of stuff you see even in the business world. You know, you have really good employees, and if you
The
don't,
way they look at everyone, they look at everyone like an employee now.
yeah,
You know,
but even that, even if you,
50 each for them, and that's what they wanted. So
yeah,
that's what
no,
you know,
even if
changes. They're lucky they're still around.
even if you take that business approach, you should still realize that a good and motivated employee you need to nurture. And
Yeah,
you know, you're going to lose them. I mean, I had that recently in when I was still, now I'm freelancing, thank God. And but I had the same thing. I had a team underneath me, and they were some shining stars. And I said to management, if you're not going to keep them happy, they're going to move. You know, that's just the way it goes.
yeah, it's hard, you know, especially now with some of these younger kids. It's hard to find the enthusiasm, and if you find someone with the enthusiasm and the talent, you know, just don't let it go. So
Definitely.
yeah, they're kind of lucky they're still around, I think.
Man, you got some pinball machines. Awesome.
Yeah, yeah. I bought one a long time ago, up in Pennsylvania. Then I found one in a local store, and then the other one, the older one, my neighbor actually had it. His brother bought it, and he wanted to get rid of it, so I just bought it from him. So I threw them in my room,
Oh, those are so cool.
the music room.
Yeah. So touching back on the way, from what I heard, you obviously now writing at home, and it's a whole different beast. It's have you experimented at all with, I mean, it's all, there's all this impulse responses, and you know, these guitar, I mean, you basically don't need your stack anymore, you know. I mean, you can still mic it up.
I know.
You can
We're
basically
actually
throw, you can throw a clean signal into your computer, and there you go.
well, that's that. I mean, this is kind of new to me. I really didn't jump on the computer stuff too much. Yeah, I've been literally sending Mike the songs with the clean guitar and a click track because I haven't downloaded the distortion yet. We tried to do it this weekend, but we couldn't get Wi-Fi, so that didn't happen. And I literally came home and talked to the power station where we recorded the Satan's Taint stuff. And I'm going to go down there. I'm going to try and duplicate my amp plus use whatever fake guitar is going to work because everyone's listening to stuff on their phones now. So you have to adjust it for the laptops and the phones and all that, and Spotify and all that crap. So I'm going to go down there and we're going to work on a sound so I can get this demo going. But it's all new to me. I mean, when I was, you know, working to put a roof over my head, all that stuff kind of passed me by.
No, it's amazing. What I'm doing at home is I just record a clean signal, or even a line out from my valve state. That line out signal runs into the door, and then I just allocate an impulse response, and I can pick from Engel amps to Marshalls to, and you basically can craft it yourself. You know, if you have the time and the
yeah, I mean,
and the energy.
You can pick everything. You can pick the speaker cabinet. You can pick the microphone. You can move the mic around on the speaker. The only downside to that I see is it's so when you can work all that time and finally get a tone that you like, it's so easy for someone else to steal it.
Yes. Yes.
So that's why a lot of these bands now,
it sounds so similar.
They all sound similar. I mean, it took me to the fourth album to like really got it right, and it was harder to steal a sound back then because you were still doing it live. You weren't doing it off of an amp simulator. So, yeah, unfortunately, that's why a lot of the music sounds the same.
Exactly, and especially drum wise. I mean, a lot of these thrash bands coming out now, I hear the first few beats, and I'm lost. I'm out. You know, it's kind of, it sounds like Tupperware. It's just, it's no,
Yeah,
it doesn't got that energy.
and like I said, everyone's listening on a phone or a laptop, so you're not playing with a big home stereo anymore. So you have to almost adjust for that as well. So yeah, it's a new world.
No, it's almost crazy if you if it makes no sense to mix on a big desk with big studio monitors and stuff for someone that's going to go.
Well, plus
You
the
know,
fact that the
just listen to the
studio time
phone.
it's so expensive to record in
Yes.
a nice studio that it's a bit of a blessing for the musician to be able to do it at home, because you just couldn't do that before. There's no way you could do that. So it helps in that aspect. But now, like a physical copy, like a CD, the kids, they don't even want it. They just want to download it.
Yeah, and find someone that listens to an album from start to finish. It's just skipping and oh well,
I was not a big fan of the albums. I did like the CD because I just thought it was sounded so much cleaner. But it's nostalgic now for kids to go and buy an album and sit there and listen to it like their uncle or their grandfather did.
I must say, I was very surprised and glad when I heard the Violence EP. I loved the sound on it, especially the guitars. I'll name an example. Yeah, even if I run the risk if I did an interview with Heathen at some point. But when they brought out their last one, it was sound-wise, and that I think is a symptom of the digital recording age. It's the guitars for me it's like this thin MIDI sound, it wasn't. I mean, listen to their early albums. It was like on par with the Overkill stuff. Really heavy chugging guitars, And
yeah,
that's miking up and cabs and
yeah. You'll never get. People say with the LP, it has a warmer sound than a CD, and now that's happening to the guitar. You're not getting that warm tone from a speaker. You're getting a fake sound, and it's going into everything direct, and you're losing that little bit of warmth, from a head. We actually did. We used my Mesa Boogie head, and I think Phil's Marshall to record. They just sounded the best together. So we still recorded with a speaker cabinet and a microphone. So maybe that's one of the things that you liked about it.
No, it definitely sounded organic and warm and really punchy. And that was killer.
Really well.
On the band side of things, I don't know. Are you friends with the guys from Nasty Savage?
I haven't seen them in years. I mean, I knew Ronnie, but they're in Tampa. They're about 4 hours away.
Oh, okay. So there's a distance.
Yeah.
No, because Dave Austin just left them.
What's that?
Because Dave Austin left the band.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
Yeah, they were doing, I think, a couple of shows up in the Tampa area.
Yeah, this is me sitting in Germany thinking you guys are all living next to each other.
No, it's far because it's a north and completely across the state.
Okay. So
and Mike is the same way. He moved farther north, but in the middle of the state, and he's about 3.5 hours. As well. So yeah, it's a long and boring flat drive across Florida to get to his house. So I just happened to be up there last week, and I was able to see him. But once I get this guitar tone situated, I'll probably drive up there again.
Yeah, we here in Germany tend to not have the sort of distances in focus. I mean, I should know. I come from Southern Africa. It's vast and huge. It's like comparable to the States. But after 10 plus years here, it's you don't, everything's sort of cramped up and close.
Yeah. Now Florida's missed, you know, it's deceiving because it doesn't look that big, but
Yeah, it's
there's
huge.
some good distances between, you know, the major cities.
Yeah, Bobby, to conclude, just a question quickly. What got you into the scene? What got you to pick up a guitar? What was that trigger moment for you?
Well, my dad had a guitar underneath his bed. He had an old Kent little starter guitar that I always used to fool around with and try and play. Then I think I wanted my own. I think I got one from this department store called Sears. They had a catalog, and I got this $25 guitar. But I heard, you know, my brother, who was 10 years older, he had like some Sabbath and Zeppelin and Hendrix albums and stuff that I, you know, discovered when I was about 8 or 9, and I really got into it. You know, just hearing, you know, Iron Man and Smoke on the Water at that time, you know, it was like, man, I want to do that. And then discovering Kiss and seeing the whole elaborate stage show with bombs and fire and everything else, it's just like, yeah, this is what I want to do. Wow. And then it steadily grew, you know, kept playing, listening to, you know, the Sex Pistols, then going to AC/DC, then Van Halen came out. Then it's just like, you know, Judas Priest, Iron Maiden. It's like one thing after another. You know, once you got to that point where you could learn songs and play, you know, that was what really hooked you. And the easiest ones to do were the AC/DC songs. And I would get hooked on those. And then you got a little better. You started learning your Priest and Maiden songs. And then it's, you know, then by that time, you know, I was ready to do my own stuff. It was 82-ish, 83, and, you know, playing out with Overkill.
Yeah, and you didn't have the YouTube tutorials, huh?
No. I mean, you sit there with, that's probably why the album sounded so much like crap, because you kept picking the needle up and going back and trying to learn parts. Yeah. You know, you sat there by yourself. You know, you didn't have some guy on YouTube showing you in half time what the notes were, you know. So that's why these damn kids are so good now, because everything's on the internet and they're freaking shredding by 9.
Exactly. There's some crazy players, and I think recently there was I saw an interesting interview with George Lynch. Now, when I think back to the 80s, he was definitely one of the players that I admired, where I thought, my God, the guy can play. My God, you know?
Yeah.
Nowadays, nowadays you think, geez, you know, George is, and he made no secret. He said, like, I don't need to, what, you know, what? I'm just gonna chill out, you know?
Yeah, I mean, him, Eddie Van Halen, Steve Vai, and Yngwie. You know, I saw Yngwie play at L'Amour's, and it's just like, why even bother?
Yeah,
like, Jesus Christ. It's just like, you know, the whole song, he's just doing this, and it's just like, all right, well, I'm not going to be able to do that. So it's just like, write the best song you can. That's all I wanted to do. Exactly. Concentrate on the song, concentrate on the riff, you know. Don't worry about trying to play classical on the friggin' electric guitar.
Yeah, it's like no solo has ever sold an album, you know. It's like,
no, I've always said that too. You don't buy an album for solos, you buy it for the songs.
Yeah. Definitely.
The riff is what you remember.
Yeah. But that being said, with all these mega flashy players, I often think, you know, it's all fine and well. You're sitting there in your little recording room and doing your video, but can you do it standing up? Can you do a tour? Do you have the stamina to stick with a band over decades? You know, and that's really, you know, yeah.
Yeah, it takes a entirely different person to be able to do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, look at Rat, you know, 2 albums in, you know, worked really hard to get where we were, and then he just realized, wow, the road is tough.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can't do this. And a lot of people are like that. They get homesick or whatnot. And I knew Chuck from Death was the same way. Just missed home and would pick up and leave.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's especially in the early days, it's very tough. I mean, it was for us because we weren't big enough to really have the tour buses early on. I mean, we did the cars, we did the vans, we did the small campers, sleeping on top of luggage.
Yeah.
One of the guys in the band is driving, so you're so nervous you can't sleep. So it's one of those type of things in the early days. And to get through the hard days, really said something. When you get a little bit bigger, we started getting bigger towards the end where you've got your own bus, you've got a bus driver, you've got your own bunk you can go into. It becomes a lot easier. But the early days, that's a real test if you're going to be able to do this.
Exactly. And then obviously also the personality factors, you've got to get along. It must be very testing, very trying on people.
Yeah. Yeah, because you get along better when you're home. You seem to be fine with the other guys when you're home. But just picture a 24/7 party in your living room with 8 other guys.
You're going to get fed up.
Blasting music. You can't sleep. You're tired. This one's drunk. That one's smoking. This one's farting. It's not as pretty as you think, but
no, it's not. And I think you
probably, if you can make it through those early years and you could stick together, you got to find what keeps you with the guys or away from the guys to stay in the band and get over that hump, which unfortunately we were finally getting into that. Things were getting better, but 3 cheers to anyone these older bands that are still around, that can keep it together.
Definitely. Kudos. Bobby, to conclude, sorry, you were saying?
No, I was going to say there's a lot of bands now that change members.
Yeah.
So you're constantly getting new guys and new blood in there sometimes. Very, very few have all original members, if any.
It's very rare. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a rare thing these days.
You obviously follow the scene. Is there anything that you these days find promising, or what's your take on the scene at the moment, or metal as a whole?
I'm glad that it's still very strong. There's always a ton of bands that I've never heard of before, which is cool, but it seemed like it was a lot harder in the early days. It was a big accomplishment to actually get signed and get on a major label and get your album out there. Now, there could be 3 other bands on my block, with a laptop, and they could just throw something together. So a lot of the times there's too much music out there.
Yeah.
But there's something for everyone. So if you don't like this one band, there's someone else you can go to and listen. It's not like everyone in the day was channeled into Scorpions, Maiden, Priest, Kiss, Dio. That was it. Now there's like these little subgenres and little pockets of bands like in Sweden that have their own sound and stuff like that. So there's definitely an endless supply of music out there. So that's what I think is keeping things going. And now, now there's a lot of girls playing too.
Yeah.
Ladies and women, they're out there, in metal bands too. So, that's come full circle because you didn't see that really before.
Yeah. Yeah. No, those were few and far between. I mean, what did you have? Lee Aaron, Doro, Lita Ford.
Joan Jett.
Yeah.
And a couple of maybe local bands that did Iron Maiden covers or something. But now you got full blown bands that are writing original music. So there's something for everyone out there now. As long, it's a little saturated, but who's to say what's good and not good?
But usually, you know how the nature of the beast is. Every time something gets saturated, you had it with the LA glam scene. When it gets too much, it'll collapse, and there's always this natural selection that
Yeah.
tends to happen.
Yeah. Well, it's, like the Seattle thing. I mean, if it becomes a certain sound or a trend, it's going to burn itself out.
Yeah.
But when you've got, your basic straight ahead metal band, as long as you're writing good songs, you just got to find your place.
Yeah.
And if you didn't get to where you want to be yet, then just write better songs. Because a good song is what's going to propel a band. If you just keep putting out crap every album, people are going to get bored with it.
Absolutely. So, Bobby, you mentioned you are still in the works for your new project. I'm not sure if you want to reveal the moniker yet.
Not yet.
Okay.
It's most likely going to stay. People that the few people that I have told it to like it. It's not like a Satan's Taint where everybody hated it, and that's what made me like it even more. To do. And yeah, this is a little bit more acceptable. It's a little bit more, I don't know. It's not leaning too far in any direction, but I'll put it out soon. I just want to make sure that we've got the demo. Once we get the demo, I'll probably announce the name.
Great stuff. Looking forward.
Now, is that your site on Instagram with all that artwork?
Yes.
You do that?
Yes. Correct.
Oh, because I thought it was from England.
No, that's me.
That's you. What was the name of it again?
Dark Dimension.
Dark Dimensions. That's right. Yeah, because I sent you the name, and I saw one of the things that you did. I actually saved a couple of those pictures that you did. I'm trying to think of an album cover. Once I get an album cover, I'll see if something fits.
But or let me know what sort of what you have in mind. Maybe something to be created, and we can
unfortunately, there's nothing in my mind. I can't think of what I want to do yet. I don't know if I want to off one of the songs. I don't want to go too death. I don't want to do all skulls and that type of stuff. I want to be a little bit more accessible, but still heavy. So if I can think of something, I'll definitely let you know. But I love it.
I mean, feel free. If you want to, feel free to share with me the sort of direction of the music and also lyrics and stuff. I'm a graphic designer, so I'm always scheming.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
whenever you feel
some of the song titles, but they don't really capture what it is. But I love what you did, and I wanted to let you know that I was looking at all that stuff on Instagram.
Yeah, it's it's a lot of very morbid stuff.
Yeah, and I looked at each one hoping that I would find something that kind of matched the name. Just keeping my eyes open to see if something would click. Yeah. So. Yeah, but we'll talk about that off the interview, and we'll
for sure, definitely.
We'll straighten some stuff out.
Definitely.
What part of Germany are you in?
I'm about an hour from Hanover.
Oh, okay.
So quite northerly.
Yeah, I miss it. I really want to go back there. I just love the people, and I've got so many friends from the old days, and we played almost every city in that country.
Great. Oh, no, you must make plans.
Yeah, the closest I had was when we got a layover in Munich last year. We had a day, and we just did something local, but that was it.
Oh, I was keeping my eyes peeled. I was so hoping for Violence to come nearby. I would have driven kilometers, and unfortunately, a couple of months back, or when you guys were still here in Europe, it must have been when you were doing those festivals. I was involved briefly with a club here, and they've had acts like Sodom and Ghost, and all these bands performed there, and they were looking to get someone to recruit metal acts. And because they'd sort of lost that and they'd gone more into the gothic or dance, all that stuff, more into parties, and they wanted to get back to concerts. And for a time there, I even tried to get hold of your booker. Maybe I even spoke to him, and long story short, I started realizing after a few discussions with management of the club that they really, I mean, as an example, I wanted to get Coroner from Switzerland, and they had a fee, and I had the club owner on my ass constantly trying to get them to sort of go for dumping prices, and half of the musician in me, well, actually, 100% of the musician in me went like, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to barter with them. Like they have transport from Switzerland. It's not like they're doing 20 shows here in the region, and you can just pop over for an evening. It's
yeah.
And if you guys want to have cheapo bands, why don't you just get a cover band?
Yeah, everyone's tightening their wallet. They don't really want to spend,
exactly.
And it's hard. I just think we're going to have to probably stay out on the road as much as we can. But I know Massacre is going to play a couple of the festivals and a couple of shows maybe. I'm not sure what the status of it is with me. I might actually go with them.
Awesome.
Towards the end of the summer. So if I do go with them, it's not confirmed yet, but if I do go with them, we might do a couple of off shows while we're there. So something like that might be pretty cool. I could keep in touch with you and let you know a couple of months, if anything. But
would you be feeling? Would you be? Are you talking in terms of a guitarist or?
Yeah, because I think their guitar player and their drummer that's in Massacre now, they also have another band, and I think they have some prior commitments.
Oh, okay.
So they might do a couple of the festivals in the summer. They might go to South America. So I'm waiting to hear on that. But in the meantime, I'm still just concentrating on my stuff. I'm not sure if that's actually going to happen.
Well, if it does, do hit me up, because I'm connected with some of the clubs here in the region.
Yeah, that would
be awesome. I just saw Rick Ross with Matt Harvey, Left to Die.
Yeah,
they performed here nearby. So
yeah. I just spoke with Rick a couple of days ago, and Gus, actually, the drummer, lives close.
Okay, Gus Reels. Yeah,
he plays around here local. But yeah, if we go over there, I'll definitely get information from you.
Awesome.
Maybe do something.
Right, Bobby, I'm going to let you go off into the weekend.
Good, man. You too. You have a good one.
It was awesome chatting.
Yeah.
I'll just include your, what is it, Facebook?
Yeah.
Under in the description. You must let me know which ones you prefer. Insta, I don't know.
I'm kind of a little bigger on Facebook.
Okay. So I'll just drop it underneath.
I don't go on Instagram that much.
Okay.
But yeah, Facebook would be bigger.
Awesome. I'll let you know when it's ripe and ready.
Okay, great.
Awesome.
Sounds good.
Bobby, go well.
Proust.
Chat soon.
Bye.